Good morning, everybody. My name is Jared O'Leary. I've been drumming since 1998, and I still got plenty of stuff to work on. Now, in these practice streams, there's almost 500 of them. You can find timestamps in the description to show what I was practicing, whether it was drum kit, or technique, or tenors, or whatever, as well as timestamps showing the topics or the questions that I was discussing. Because I've been drumming for almost 30 years, and because I have a bachelor's, master's, and PhD in music education, I get a range of questions about like how to get better as a performer or how to get better as an educator. So think of these practice sessions as like office hours. I'm here to practice and get better. If you got questions about drumming or teaching, then I'm happy to talk about it. Now, in the responses that I gave previously, I often edit those responses and put them into this drumming tips playlist. It's got over 17 hours of drumming tips that I provided on a wide range of topics, like why I let my index finger hang over the stick, or let's see here, if the drum line is making mental mistakes, try this. Now, if it says and other drumming tips or and other teaching tips, that means there's more topics than just that first thing that I talk about at the start of the video. Now, I am working on limb independence. I've spent like less than 1% of my time practicing it. Most of the stuff that I've done is rudimental drumming and then concert percussion, and less than 1% on limb independence. Because I'm not great at it yet, I need a Shia LaBeouf here to help motivate me. So I'm going to hide him, but he's here in spirit. Don't you worry about that. Shia is here to motivate the masses. Help me, Shia. Do it! Just do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it. Make your dreams come true. Just do it. Some people dream success. Well, you're going to wake up and work hard at it. Nothing is impossible. You should get to the point where anyone else would quit, and you're not going to stop there. No, what are you waiting for? Do it. Just do it. Yes, you can. Just do it. Thank you for the like. Shia, I'm motivating everyone. If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. Yeah, Shia LaBeouf, I am so motivated to practice limb independence. Now, the way that I'm practicing limb independence is using these books. So the book 50 Ways to Syncopation by Don Moyle has 50 ways to work on limb independence using his 20 charts or Ted Ree's solos at the end of his books, or using the 55 drum charts that are on my channel's home tab. Now, the way that I'm working on this and have worked on it on all these streams is largely based off of limb interdependence that Gary Chesser discusses in New Breed 1 and 2. Now, I've taken Dom's book and I've put it into this spreadsheet for me to keep track of how am I doing on this. So, for example, your standard ding-ding-ding, where you play short notes, so eighth notes, on snare drum, and anything longer than that on the bass drum. I can scroll along here and see how was the quality of the playing, how did I feel while playing it, and what was the BPM across all these previous times that I've worked through this. And then column A keeps track of how did it sound on average across all those times. So was it technically proficient, meaning playing the ink on the page? Was it musical, meaning even better than that, I was adding in extra timbres, textures to make it sound more interesting? Or was it just kind of meh or needs a lot of work? Now, in these streams, most of these were not good when I started working on them, but over the time, I've been working through it. And when I've got this one, which is technically not in Dom's book, but it was inspired by some lessons with him, but it's pattern number 53, and it's a doozy. There's a reason why this one, on average, needs a lot of work. So the pattern that I'm playing is a Soca pattern for the hi-hat. So 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, 4 EN, 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, 4 EN, okay? So 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, 4 EN. But if you play it as triplets instead of 16th notes, da-da-da, 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 buckets, 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 you end up doing 3 of those patterns, the buckets, in the space of 4 quarter notes. So it's a 3/4, and it's a straight pattern, as opposed to swung, while reading through charts that are swung. So my snare drum is going to play the 8th note swung, and the bass drum will play anything longer than an 8th note that is also going to be swung. So it's going to go... Whew! It's a doozy. Now, the way I'm doing this is reading some charts. And I'm going to read through it at 115 beats a minute, which is what I did last time. But last time I did it, it needed a lot of work. Uh-oh. Wake up, Jared. Now, the charts that I'm referencing here and that I'll be using here in a second are found on my home tab of YouTube. Or if you go to jaredoleary.com/drum, it takes you to here. There's literally thousands, plural, of free resources that you can use to improve your drumming. So there's currently 84 chop exercises inside of here. My favorite one is the shopping spree playlist. There's over 30 shopping sprees inside of there. There's over 1,000 grid variations for both triplet and 16th notes, so you can work on your flam drags, or your flam drags as 16th notes, or you can work on, I don't know, Herta grid if you go inside of there, whatever you want to do. This is where I'm practicing. I'll come back. There's almost 500 marching bass drum exercises. I highly recommend taking a look at the timing exercises. Mark time to these while you're playing through it. And then once you get these down, there's over 150 of them. Then you can start looking at the splits timing. It basically simulates being on a bass line by muting and unmuting different parts. You'll see what I'm talking about when you play through some of those, but it'll keep you busy for quite some time. There's drumline cadences. There's a bunch of sight reading exercises. These are currently scheduled to release in November of next year. So they're right now listed as members first, which just means early access for 99 cents. But again, all these resources are free, so just wait, it'll come out. And there's over 460 technique exercises inside of here. So if you want to work on your endurance and speed, check out that playlist. If you want to work on your accent taps, check out that playlist. If you want to work on your rolls, check out these playlists, etc. And then finally, here's where I've answered questions live on stream. These are the edited responses, and there's over 17 hours of responses. Again, talking about not only performing, but also how to get better as an educator. Because I have a doctorate in music education, I know some things about how to teach. And then there's also all these scripted lessons like how to hold traditional grip, how to practice quietly, the stretch and massage routine here I'll use here in a few, etc. All these resources, again, are for free. Any of the ones that say members first are scheduled to release for free. So just be patient and it'll come out. Or just sign up for 99 cents by clicking the join button. Now, in the limb independence section, every one of these playlists links to this video, how to develop limb independence on the kit. There's a series of steps starting from very basic to increasingly more complex using these resources to help you practice it. Now, because I'm playing swung charts, and I'm doing it at 115, I'm going to go inside of the swung charts, 100 to 159, and there's 55 charts in here. You can do it slow, you can do it fast, you can do it straight, you can do it swung. However you want to interpret the eighth notes, I've got both variations here. Anyways, I'm going to go to our random set of charts. Let's do 41 through 45. Sounds great. The reason why I'm doing random is because it makes it so that I practice sight reading as opposed to just doing the same ones over and over. So in all these thousands of like free play-alongs, you just go into the timestamps in the description to pick whatever BPM you want. They go up one click at a time. So I can play this at 164 if I wanted to, or 43, whatever. It's counting off in my headphones. Here we go. So again, this is a 3/4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. As I script the hi-hat already, this is why we're practicing this. Keep hitting my stick. Stop that. Stop it. Get some help. Wow. I totally read that last part wrong. Hit my stick really messed me up. Okay, let's try this again. Focus, Jared. Apparently, I need more coffee. 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. take again. Ugh. This is going rough today. It also went rough 2 days ago when I last played through this, so that's interesting that it's like regressed a little bit. I feel really tired, so I think it's a mental thing rather than a coordination thing. I just need to focus more. Speaking of... Goes better. I hit my stick at one point on, was it the second line of playing? And then I read a rhythm wrong on the third line of playing. But better. Gotta focus more. Oh, 2. Ooh, this one's a hard one. Woo! Dang it. The struggle bus is strong today. I will review this at the end so I can try and spend some more time with it today after I do some review. Ready? And... Oof. Good morning. That was rough. That was rough. There's a reason why we start off with this every single time. It's because I'm still working on it. So on average, I'm going to say it still needs a lot of work. Darn. It just felt out of control at points. Like 1, hitting the sticks. 2, reading rhythms wrong. But the coordination just wasn't happening today. So that's unfortunate. That's 2 times in a row now that's happened. We had a long streak of it being technically proficient, but still, on average, needs a lot of work, so we'll continue to work on this each one of the streams. I'm going to do a quick stretch and massage routine, and then I'm going to review some patterns I've already graduated from that, on average, sound better than that. But the one that I'm going to do is now pasted on the screen so you can actually see it, so it's a Samba pattern. But let's stretch and massage. I need to wake up still. I'm going to come back to that at the end of the stream. 3/4 straight over swung apparently is too much for my bearing to process in the morning. First stretch. Stretching the sides of the forearm. So I'm doing palms facing up. Pull in, push through. Ooh, it feels good. I like. And to get out of the stretch, just go the way that you came into it. If you do traditional grip, you can rotate and hold there. hold for like 20 to 30 seconds, rotate and hold there. Or if you do like 4 mallets, so if you do Stevens grip, basically any kind of rotary motion, this helps with that rotation. But I don't do those anymore, so I'm not going to worry about that stretch. Next one that I'm going to do is stretching the underside of the forearm. So it's along here, and I'm just pulling back gently. This is not like a strength competition. Just trying to relax the forearms. You can do this one on the wall. It makes it so you can do both hands at the same time. The lower you go, the deeper the stretch. Just don't put all your weight into this. Again, this is not a strength competition. You're just trying to relax your forearms. Yay. And switch. Ooh, that feels great. I needed it. Next, stretching the top side of the forearm. So instead of going this way, we're just going the opposite direction. Just kind of pulling towards you. You could do this one on the wall. The higher you go, the deeper the stretch. Or if you do this one on your legs, you can do 2 at a time. Wow. Much wow. And then the final stretch is stretching each one of your fingers. You can do this twice as fast by going thumb to thumb. Thank you for the legs. If you press here, ooh, it feels good. Again, this is not a strength thing. This is just trying to have a spa day for your hands, your fingers, forearms. You might need to spend more time on different parts than I am. That's because your anatomy is different. Wow, shocker. Also depends on what you've been doing the last couple of days. So like if I had a pretty hefty workout, then maybe it will affect things. Or if I was, I don't know, filling out a test on a Scantron. Why would I do that at 40 years old? I don't know. But it can like make your hand cramp up. So like some fingers will be tighter on some days than on other days. It happens. And then we'll do a quick massage routine, and then I'll play the next pattern, which is that Samba pattern on there. That is on the screen. So this one is massaging the thumb on top of the forearm, the fingers massaging underneath. Just trying to loosen things up. And I'm doing this on every one of the streams because it's important. I've been drumming for almost 30 years, and the reason why I can still drum after that long without like repetitive stress injuries is 1, a relaxed technique. 2, this stretch and massage routine. And then 3, the recovery routines that I outline in some other videos on my channel. I'll bring them up here in a moment. In case you're like, well, which ones? You have thousands. I'll show you. Don't worry. Patience. Forearms are feeling tight today. Interesting. I didn't drum yesterday because I didn't meet my content creation goals on Friday, so I spent a few hours working on it yesterday morning. So it's interesting that my arms are tight. Maybe it's because I forgot to stretch and massage. Next one, massaging the thumb inside the palm, fingers on the backside. Why, hello to you on the vertical. Do. I just like randomly get the Excite Bike theme song stuck in my head, and I just thought I should share that with you. In case you know that song is now stuck in your head. I remember playing that on the Nintendo. I was like, wow, this is cool. Base the tip of each of the fingers massaging. It's amazing how graphics have exponentially changed. Yo, are you a pirate? Yo ho, yo ho. Or do you like yo-yos? I remember when like yo-yos were like super popular in middle school. It's funny. Do I think hitting the gym is good for drummers? I mean, hitting the gym is good for your body and your mind. So yes. Is it like, do you need a weight lift to drum? No, not at all. In fact, that can cause more harm than good. I knew some people who tried to like, oh, I'm going to use like literal hammers to like work on my finger technique because that's like weight training for your fingers. And they tore their tendons. So don't do that. I also like knew some people who were like, I'm going to do like wrist curls so that way I can like build up my forearm. And it's like, I mean, you'll get like all the forearm muscles from just literally using them. So like that muscle right there is just from moving your forearm for many hours a day, every day. So no, it's completely counterintuitive to use it because it can actually cause a lot of injuries. But yeah, weight training in general and hitting the gym is good for you because you can like improve your body overall and your mind overall. And if your body and mind are doing good, then that can help you to be more focused when you're drumming. While I was stretching massaging, I mentioned some videos. One is this is the hand routine that I was just using. You can find all the stretches and massages I was just doing. It's called This Hand Routine Saved My Drumming. And then this one is what to do 10 minutes, 1 hour, and 5 hours after drumming, which has suggestions on like how to recover after the drums. So what you do in between practice sessions and whatnot when doing this. Play some jazz. This is like not a cover stream. This is me practicing live, and if people have questions, then I answer the questions, and then I edit those responses, and I put them into this drumming tips playlist. It has over 17 hours of answering questions on how to improve as a drummer or how to improve as an educator. Hey Jared, what do you think is the one thing I think is the most important that contributed to my success? I mean, it's not like there's one thing for that. I'm gonna try and answer that question, but because it's like having like friend and family support, it can be like super helpful like throughout it, like so that can contribute to it, but also the willingness to put in the grind, that can contribute to it. I'm trying to like go as meta as possible to answer it, so it's just one thing. So I guess like overall, if I were to answer that for as like broad as possible, probably it would be I think it's Carol Dweck that talks about it. That or it's the Duckworth. I always forget which researcher did grit and which one did growth versus fixed mindset. I'm pretty sure it's Dweck. But she talks about the difference between like a fixed mindset where like I am only able to play at my innate abilities and like can't progress past that. And then there's people who have a growth mindset where they are trying to just constantly improve and understand that their ability right now is not what it will be after like a year of effort of trying to improve something or 5 years of effort, etc. So that ability to be able to have the growth mindset over decades and understand that if I put in the time now that it will pay off significantly over a very extended period of time, but doing the incremental every single day, like working toward that goal, that's probably the most important thing that I've had. But there's so many things outside of that have contributed to it, like having like support from my wife, support from like family, things like that are significantly contribute to it. But I guess if I were to think of the one thing off the top of my head right now, it'd probably be that idea that you can get better. And this is like not just like my thoughts, like this is backed by not only the students that I've taught, and I've taught every grade, kindergarten through doctoral students. So I've seen a full range of like from 5-year-old to people who are older than me, and I'm 40. Having taught that huge range, like seeing the students who had the growth mindset versus like the fixed mindset, like it was like night and day long term. But there's also a ton of research on it. So at the start of my doctorate, I did a lot of research on skill acquisition and expertise development, and like what it takes to develop abilities over time versus like the idea of having like innate talent, which I'm doing in air quotes because it's like it's not a thing backed by research. Like the people who so-called have innate talent, after about 50 hours of practice on something, they're indistinguishable from people who have just put in the work. So 50 hours is like, in the long scheme of things, it's just like a speck of effort compared to the amount of time it actually takes to like really get good on something. So looking long term, because like to get to the international level of like musicianship, it takes about 20,000. I think it's 21,000 if I'm citing the research correctly, as opposed to like 10,000 hours of effort. So it's a significant period of time that it's going to take. Because the domain is something that you can start working on when you're younger. So like I've like known a lot of people who started when they were like 4, like making music or whatever. I didn't start till 8th grade, but basically what I'm saying is like the more time you put into something over an extended period of time, the sooner you'll achieve the results that you want in terms of improvement. And so that comes with anything. So like I was not good at drumming when I first started and put in a significant period of time and was able to get better over time. I was not very good when I started teaching. And then I went on and got like international awards as an educator. I was not very good at researching when I started that. And then I went on and got international awards with that as well. So like where you start at versus where you want to be, if you can put in those daily efforts and like just constantly reflect on what is the most important thing that I can work on right now to improve in anything in life, whether it's like learning a language or learning how to play an instrument or learning how to teach better, etc. Those are all things that with consistent effort over an extended period of time, you can get better at it, whatever it's going to be. So talent only matters in the first 50 hours. So the idea of talent is even debated. I gave an example previously where a student of mine, she was a tenor drummer and she was able to do crossovers really well. So crossovers, when you're like moving your hands like this, she was just like had an ability the first time I taught it to her where she was like great at it. And I was like, how are you good at crossovers right now? That flies in the face of the idea that there's like no such thing as talent. And then what she like realized when she came back like the following week for lessons is that she did a lot of patty cake, which like had like a bunch of crossover things that she would do. So she had been practicing it for years with like her siblings. So the idea that like you're innately good at something is just not backed up by research. So for example, people will be like, yeah, but Mozart. And it's like, okay, except Mozart's dad was like the most preeminent violin educator in all of Vienna at the time. So to say that like Mozart just all of a sudden came out of the womb playing music, it's like, well, no, he also had a family that was literally supporting and teaching him to be able to do that and was playing for years. So there might be like an innate drive to like try and receive the rewards associated with practicing. So like when you put an effort into something and you perform something and then your parents go, yay, then that might drive you to continue to put in more effort to get more, yay. So like to try and receive that praise. But there isn't like I woke up and I knew how to do scales, or I was born and I knew how to play like drum solos. Like that's just not a thing backed up by research. And when it comes to 50 hours, like that just is to the point where you develop that automaticity with your brain, which is, without trying to get too detailed into it, it basically takes the neural connections in your brain from being like a dial-up, if you're old like me, to like a broadband, or let's say like a single lane highway into like a multi-lane highway. And it makes it so that like your brain is able to process things faster and smoother and get the timing right better, which, you know, is kind of important for drumming, to make it so that you think less and it appears to be more natural. And really it's just your brain is strengthening the neural connections. So what looks effortless from the outside is just hundreds and thousands of hours of practice that has culminated into that so-called effortless ability. But if you go back to anyone who has started from the very beginning learning how to make any kind of music, they're not good at it. Like they're not going to just all of a sudden pick up a sticks and just like be able to play limb independent stuff. Like that's not going to happen. And I say that as somebody who has taught beginners across like different grade levels, whether they're a kindergarten or even like adult beginners who are learning how to make music. We all start off at that level, but how much effort you put into the practice over time is what separates you from everybody else. And there's actual research on that that like verifies that. So I think I talk about that in a previous one. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Do. Sorry. So it's K. Anders Ericsson is the guy who's like often cited with this, but there's a ton of... Whoop. Yeah, I want all the ads. Thanks, guys. Oh, yeah, you got to pay for this one? Oh, that's a subscriber only. Cool. Super good. So glad. Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah, ResearchGate. Sorry, I'm in a different window right now. I'm trying to pull this up. Dang, it's not letting me without paying for it. Okay, was it this? Well, you'll never feel successful as a musician? Maybe it's this one. I know I pulled up the research at one point. The problem with having so many videos. Dang. Yeah, so there's a... apparently it's not in this video, so I don't remember which one it was in. But there's a chart that shows, like, amateurs, like hobbyists versus, like, educators versus professionals versus international levels of people. And there's a direct one-to-one correlation between the amount of time that they put into it and the ability that they have. So, like, people who put in less time had a lower ability, and then people who put in more time who had a higher ability. And it's like, it's directly correlated one-to-one. So there's this kind of research that's been going on for decades, several decades, and it's been going on across like many domains, whether it's like chess or music or whatever. And it's all consistently pointed to the amount of time that you put into it on the right things to improve. So like the stuff that I talk about, like to practice in these drumming tips, and the reason why I'm just constantly like, hey, snare drummers, if you want to get better, focus on the technique exercises. Like that would be the thing that would set you apart from the people who just like ram the chop stuff as fast as possible and whatnot. But hopefully that makes sense. Your idea of talent is someone is having an obsession. Yeah, so that is, I actually did it was a pilot study, so this isn't like, you can't generalize beyond this. But I did a study that looked at obsessive traits and its relationship to whether or not you had a scholarship and how much time that you practiced. And I did this with university students. So this is with like undergrad and graduate students, and there was basically the people who got scholarships and were the people who practiced the most and who were more likely to have the obsessive traits related to like obsessive compulsive disorder or autism or perfectionism, etc. So yeah, it's fascinating, and I hope more people like explore that, because yes, if you have that obsessive nature, that perfectionistic tendency to just try and constantly improve, there appears to be a very strong correlation with that. So if you can maintain that over time and understand that like you're able to get better and just like constantly focus on improving, whether it's like by physically practicing or mentally practicing, which is also known as like visualization. And you'll hear a lot of sports people talk about that, like the inner game of tennis or whatever. Like that allows you to not only practice when you're physically with an instrument, but also be able to practice mentally, like working through like limb independence patterns or sticking patterns or rudiments or whatever mentally, was another way that I was able to practice without sticks and pads or drums in front of me. But yeah, yes. But your definition of like talent is different than some people who have more of the fixed mindset that I've taught, because I taught a class on skill acquisition and expertise at the graduate level, and some of the students who were in there, their idea of what talent is basically you're just like born and able to play the instrument at a specific level, and like you don't need to practice, and it's like that's not a thing. Like I've never met anyone who's a professional musician who didn't need to practice. But anyways, you've heard that people say that visualizations work as effective as physical practice. It's about 80% as effective, and it depends on the verisimilitude. So like how lifelike you can make it. So the effectiveness comes from your ability to fire the same neurons while doing it. So like if you think of one of the studies that there's many studies on this, but one of the studies that they did was like shooting free throws for basketball. So like when visualizing it mentally, like being able to feel the weight of the ball in your hand mentally speaking, being able to like the motions, etc., you'll actually have like small twitch firings going on where you will literally like fire the neurons to like go through those motions, and it's just like strengthening the process and thinking through it. And it's about 80% as effective depending on your level of visualization. So if you're able to visualize and like really feel everything with it and like really be able to connect all the motions and think through it slowly while like shooting a hoop or playing drums or whatever, it is remarkably effective. And it was something that when I learned about it, I was like, oh, let me try doing this. And so like I'd be sitting there in like English class in high school when I first learned about this, and I'd just be like drumming out stuff or just like working on a rudiment and playing through it in my head. And I was refining stuff to practice. So it does work. But you got to like learn how to do it correctly and make it as close mentally as it is physically. It's not going to make it so that like, you're like, if you're a weightlifter, it's not going to be like, oh, and all of a sudden I gained like 20 pounds of muscle just by thinking about it. Like, no, what it's going to do is like improve your technique and improve your form, and make it so that you're able to do those things easier. But then you have to like physically go through the motions. But it's not something you can start with. Like it's more of once you're at an intermediate level and above, then you can start using it, because you have to develop the schema, the mental connections to be able to like build off of. Because otherwise, if you were to ask me to visualize what it's like to be in like a Formula One car, I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna guess what it would be like to improve. I don't even know what the different buttons are. That they have like video game controllers that they're basically using. So like it would not be effective for somebody like me, but visualization technique for somebody who's like in Formula 3 or 2 or at the highest level at Formula 1 would work great for them. And it's one way to extend your practice session, and it's especially useful for more dangerous things like gymnasts. So when a gymnast is practicing, there becomes a point where their body, their muscles become fatigued enough that like it's dangerous for them to continue. So what they end up doing is they will like front load the hard physical stuff, and then they will like take a break, and then they'll work on like visualization stuff later. So they're still improving without having to like risk like breaking their arm or something while doing a difficult move. And so they'll practice the visualization when they physically can't work on it more. So it's just finding the place for it. Like there is no substitute for physically going through something, but if it's about 80% as effective, or even only like 20% as effective if you're not good at the visualization, it's still better than not practicing. So highly recommend people take a look at it more. Can't visualize something you're not familiar with, right? Because you're not able to make it that verisimilitude, like going back to the lifelike nature of it. Sorry, fancy words. If you're like, I have no idea what it feels like to experience 5 Gs on my neck while turning a corner in Formula One. Like, I don't know what that's going to feel like. I have no idea what like my body's supposed to do while going through this. But if I had spent years like working on driving and then having that sense of it, then I'd be able to go, okay, now I can like visualize and have like that context to figure out like what would need to happen to actually like mentally visualize that thing. I think my way of thinking about talent, because I felt it doesn't limit. Yeah, I had... So when I was teaching at the elementary level, I would see this more. Some parents would be like, oh, well, my kid doesn't have talent, so like therefore I don't think they should do music classes or do band or whatever. And it just doesn't like bear itself like in the data. Like any of those students who felt that way, like when I taught them, by the end of the year, their parent would be like, oh, it just took work. So there were... I took over some programs where the previous director was like, they would just kick some students out because they didn't have the so-called talent. And it's like such a disservice to the students that they were working with, because then like that was something that they carried with them for the rest of their lives. So there were parents that I met who were like, yeah, well, like 30 years ago, I had a teacher who said I didn't have talent in it. So, I can't learn how to make music. And like, I always push back on them on that. And like, well, that's not how research, like bears out. Like, are you saying you're the exception, where you're the outlier, where like practicing is ineffective for you? And it's such a shame that makes people not want to make music, which can be like a very therapeutic and like relaxing, like leisurely activity that people could engage in, but they don't, because they feel like they're not able to do it. Like they just don't have the ability for it. I actually did a content analysis on the use of the word talent across a few decades in journals of music education to see like, how did music educators conceive of the word? So was it an innate thing where like talent is the limit of this is as good as you will get, and it's what you start with and you'll never get better than that? Or is it like talent is something that like can be developed over time? Or is it something in the middle where it was like vague? And it was really interesting to see some music educators grouped into no, like we should basically find the students who have the so-called talent and focus our efforts on like helping develop their abilities. And we should basically ignore the people who don't have the so-called talent. And what's nice is the field in general did not think of it as like an innate ability. They in general felt it was like, well, no, this is something you can teach, which makes sense, because if you've taught across the grade span, especially at the elementary level, you can see where they start and they're just terrible, and then they eventually get better. Like, let me see if I can show you something real quick. Sorry, this is a long rant. Where is it? Here? Maybe? Okay. So for context, so this is fifth graders playing Hot Cross Buns the first time through, and I used to play this at the concert before we would then play it. Like, let me rephrase that. So at the final concert, I'd play this for the parents so they could hear this is where we started at, and now let's listen to what they sound like after having worked on this for a couple semesters. So that's the first phrase. Second phrase. Yeah. And so that's my ringtone because it makes me smile. And in between like the second and third phrase, there's a little clarinetist who is like, she stopped playing. She's like, I can't. It makes me laugh whenever I get a phone call because of that. But that is their first time playing through it, and it's terrible. It sounds like a train. But then when we get to the final concert and play it for the parents and they listen to like what they sound like after months of work, they can see that growth. And because like I've worked across the entire grade span and the entire age span, like from a 5-year-old through like people who are older than me, like being able to see that progress over an extended period of time, months, years, I have witnessed the growth, which going back to your initial question is why like I think that's the most important thing. If you can see that growth over an extended period of time and know that if you invest the time into it yourself, then you too can get better at whatever it is that you want to get better at. That is important to have. And unfortunately, some people have been told that they can't get better, and so they don't try. And that to me is kind of sad, in my opinion. After learning drumming, it feels mostly like hard work. Most definitely. I was terrible when I started drumming. Like literally the worst. Couldn't even play quarter notes. You can't even tell it's Hot Cross Buns until the last part. Yeah, it sounds so bad. But yeah, I love it. It makes me smile. Whenever like my phone goes off and people don't know that backstory behind like what my ringtone is, and they hear that, they're like, what on earth is that? Are you summoning a demon? Or yes. Okay. Sorry, long response. So the samba pattern that I'm gonna play, let's do this. This is pattern number, whoa, I just deleted it. Pattern number 32. Don't do that. So the samba pattern with the feet, okay? And then what I'm gonna do on the hi-hat is, so on 1, it's a closed hi-hat. 1, 3, a 1, a 3, a 1, a 3, a 1, a 3. So you open up on the 3 and play a nice open shup while doing this. Apparently, the last time I played through this, I played it at 165. Okay, wish me luck. So I'm gonna go back to my home tab, and if we go into the limb independence section, I'm going to use the play-alongs inside of here to be able to play that at 165. That's the number, right? Yes. I can remember, sometimes. So under the straight charts, from 160 to 240, I can go into any one of these and work on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the charts on the snare drum while I play through what I was just doing for the ostinato. So I just did 41 through 45, so let's just go to the next one, I guess. That sounds grand. And 165, click. Yay. Whoa. Do. Okay. 1, 2, ready, and. A 1, a 2, here we go. I read that wrong. I'm so sorry. Unsubscribe. I like this pattern. It's weird to get used to the hi-hat part, though. Oops. Yeah, I need that refund for Hooked on Phonics. It did not work for me. A 1, a 2, a here we go. Sweet! Why is my nose so itchy? It's only in the morning. I'm allergic to drumming. Oh no! A 1, 2, here we go. Yeah, so the biggest issue right now is my reading. I'm just sometimes playing the wrong rhythm. 1, 2, here we go. Let's see. Hey, I have a question about marching snare drumming. It feels as though my arms feel stiff. My chops are not at my peak playing. Yeah. So, go to the... If you scroll down on my home tab, there's 2 videos I highly recommend checking out that can help with that. Inside of the drumming lessons playlist right here, it's under the tips and lessons section. So there's a video that has the stretch and massage routine that I demonstrate. So this hand routine saved my drumming. So when you go inside of here, it has the stretches with like different demonstrations of how to do the different things. This one is great for rotary motions with traditional grip. So I highly recommend taking a look at this. And then at the end, since you're talking about marching, this stretch is great if you're used to having a carrier. This like stretches the neck and shoulder, which it can creep down into tension in the upper arm, which creeps into the tension in the forearms and your hands and your fingers. It all kind of like works its way down, which you want to relax from the neck and shoulders down. But that one would be a good one. And then the one right below it, what to do 10 minutes, 1 hour, and 5 hours after drumming. This talks about basically how to recover from drumming. So while doing this, I get goofy in some of these. I talk about like, here are some different things that you can eat to like help your body and your brain recover from it. But then I also talk about like different stretches that you can do, and then using like sleep and compression and like hot and cold therapy, so like ice packs versus like heating pads, etc., and how those can help you out. So those 2 videos are specifically on recovering. It's like a total of 5 minutes or whatever. Yeah, a little over 5 minutes of your time, but can have a profound impact on helping you relax. But that's the recovery side of things, and then the other thing is just like staying as relaxed as possible. And I've got like how to hold traditional grip, that video. But also inside of the drumming tips playlist, this is the one that has over 17 hours of like responding to Q&A. This has a lot of stuff like how to relax your accent taps. So like drumming tip number 88, how to play relaxed accent taps. Like that one might be helpful for you. But there's a ton of content in here on like how to help relax yourself while playing. My technique, the reason why I'm able to play fast after almost 30 years of drumming as a 40-year-old, like, is because I focus on staying relaxed and because of the recovery routine that I use. So Jonathan, I hope that helps you out. But give it like a week or so of like going through those recovery routines, and do that stretch and massage routine at least once, if not twice a day, like one when you warm up and the one at the end of the day. But if you go through that, then that should have a profound impact on you. Your drum teacher previously said that drumming is his soul. Tell me you should practice for the sake of practicing. You shouldn't think about whether you get better or not. It sounds to me like you and I are very similar. So specifically the part of not being able to grasp the idea of practicing without getting better or having a goal in mind. I am very much the same way, in that everything I do is trying to improve. I'm trying to iterate. I'm trying to refine my abilities as like a streamer, as a communicator, as an educator, as a performer. I'm just constantly trying to improve, and that is my way of being. But through therapy, what I have learned is there's a lot of value in taking time to rest And so if you think of drumming as improvement and then think of drumming as for leisure, there's a space for both of them. So in a lot of these like drumming tips, I talk about the balance of like spending 80 to 90% of your time like working on the like refinement to improve stuff. So for example, spending your time working on technique, I usually say 50 to 60% of your time is on technique stuff. 30 to 40% of your time is on grid variations if you're a rudimental drummer. And again, this is also technique stuff for rudiments. But then only 10, at most 20% of your time is on chops. So like that's fun to play, but what I strive for is the vast majority of my time is spent on trying to improve rather than just having fun. But there are some days where like that needs to balance itself out, where it's the inverse of that, where it's like, well, today I'm just kind of like not really feeling it. I just want to make music for the sake of making music. And that in and of itself can be very therapeutic to just have fun and whatnot. And I didn't really fully appreciate the balance of that until my undergrad, when in my undergrad, it was like, I got to practice all day, every day. And I'm playing stuff that I don't care about, that I wasn't passionate about. And I just got so burned out focusing on that I had to swing the pendulum after I finished my undergrad in the other direction to just like focus on just like playing things that I actually enjoyed again and making music for the sake of making music, which can be literally therapeutic in terms of like what it can do for you. So like there's actual research on music therapy, and I actually talked about that a few days ago, where just making music for the sake of music can be like great for you. But if you feel like how do I want to phrase this? So it's a little bit easier to see. So that balance that you'll have between the playing for the sake of improving and playing for the sake of leisure, for enjoyment, or for therapy, etc., is going to be different for everyone every single day. So for me, I tend to focus so much on the refinement because that actually relaxes me. Like I get a lot of enjoyment out of that process. And part of that is probably the autism that I have, where like that repetition of just like grinding out things really feels good. And like, I feel better and more relaxed and more present when I refine things and focus on that. And then the for the leisure sake, it's much lower amount of time that I spend on it. But there are some days where it starts to skew in another direction, and there are periods of life where like I need to focus on just enjoyment because other areas of my life are so stressed out that I need to like counterbalance with it. But for other people, it might be more like this, as opposed to like an extreme, like 90% of your time is spent focused grinding. For other people, it might be like 70% of your time is focusing on grinding, or maybe 60%, and then the rest is spent on music for the sake of music. Whatever you need to do as an individual is what you need to do. So while your teacher might say, hey, this is what works for me and what works for the students that I work with on average, that's still the bell-shaped curve. There are going to be outliers where some people are going to be like, no, I can really just grind 95% of the time, and I feel great doing that. But with external factors, that might change that percentage. So an external factor might be like stress at work, or stress at school, or stress with like family, friends, whatever, relationships. Like all those things might make it so that like music where you are practicing for the sake of improvement becomes a stress for you rather than something that relaxes you or is enjoyable, especially if you're playing stuff that you don't care about, like I had to during my undergrad. Like I was not interested in a lot of the stuff that I had to perform. And so practicing became a chore and it wasn't enjoyable. But it's a balancing act that is constantly shifting, and what works for one person might not work for another person. So while I understand the sentiment of what your instructor is trying to teach you through their statements, it's not something that can be generalized to anyone and everyone. And so there's so much gray area involved with teaching, which is why a lot of the answers that I give are like, well, maybe it's this and maybe it's this, as opposed to like, here's the definitive one thing that everybody needs to do. And unfortunately, that doesn't market itself as well, the approach that I'm using versus like, I can teach you the one way to improve your roles. And then like, okay, well, there's many ways to improve your roles. Like that's less enticing, I guess, for a lot of people that create content. You've been practicing because of expectations held by my parents. You've been burnt out multiple times. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that you're recently playing things that you enjoy. The external forces are... How do I want to phrase it? They're difficult to navigate. Like, when I first started making music, it was 8th grade, and I was just sitting in the car, and I was listening to a Blink-182 album, Enema of the State, and I was like, I hear the drums better than I hear the vocals. Like, I don't even know what they're singing, but, like, I just feel like I really focus on the rhythms more. And so I was like, I want to learn how to play the drums. And my mom was like, all right, cool, let's try some drum lessons. And so I started taking drum lessons in 8th grade, and for the first 5 years of my drumming, it was 100% self-driven. I had that internal push to improve so I could like become first chair of all the ensembles or become center snare and section leader or to make drum corps, etc. And like all of those were internally driven. And then it was when I went into my undergrad, it shifted from that internal motivation largely in the concert world towards the external. You have to get better to perform good on your senior recital or for this audition or for whatever. And that shift for me made it so that practicing became less enjoyable because I was playing stuff I didn't care about after having spent 5 years of playing stuff that I really enjoyed. And I had to counterbalance that when I was working on my master's. I started working on drum kit and did that for fun. And so I was learning something new to stop playing the things that I had negative associations with. So like playing marimba and like other mallet instruments and concert percussion instruments was like triggering. It made me think of the negative associations that I had with it. So by learning a new percussion instrument that I had not played before, that I didn't have associations with, well, I played a little bit of drum kit, but not much. Like in the grand scheme of things, none really. But switching over to that new instrument allowed me to rebuild the positive associations with practicing and making music. And then I was able to get back into it again. And it was only because of that switch to the other instruments. But I've known so many other people who like aren't percussionists specifically, who are like clarinetists, and they get so burned out by playing one instrument, stuff that they didn't care about during their undergrad, that they ended up just like stop making music entirely. Most of the people that started with me as a freshman during the undergrad were out of the music program by their senior year. Like literally a quarter of us were left in the program. So if we started with 100 people, then there was like 25 people left at the end of it. And that was something that one of my professors said during one of the first theory classes. He's like, look around you. Most of you are going to be gone in 4 years because they're going to switch majors because it is going to be that difficult. And they were right. Like it was super draining. So if you're a percussionist, like it's easier because you can like switch to different instruments, learn new things, continue to refine things. But that's harder if you're like a wind or brass player because it's not as common for them to switch instruments as it is for percussionists to just like learn multiple things. If you're in like a pit orchestra, like playing like Broadway style stuff, like that is more common where it's like, oh, well, I get paid to play the flute part and the saxophone part or whatever. So there is precedent for that. But generally speaking, like if you're playing trumpet, you're just going to play trumpet. So learn a new instrument is basically what I'm trying to say. If you get burned out with it, switch to something else, rekindle that feeling of like practicing, and then you can maybe come back to the thing that you're working on. And if it's not a new instrument, then learn a new piece. Like if you're getting burned out playing stuff that other people want you to play, then pick a piece for yourself that you can do. And that's easier said than done. Again, having been through the music programs where it's like you don't really have a say in the stuff that you learn, depending on the style of the instructors that you work with, professors. But do what you can outside of that to not get burned out with it. And as always, like see a therapist for external support. I can't, thank you for the sub. I can't emphasize that enough. It helps to get that external perspective on different things in life. You're welcome. But I'm glad to hear that you're playing things that you enjoy. That is important. But again, everybody's different. Some people need to spend more of time on playing stuff they enjoy, and then other people are more able to, in that moment, in that season in life, grind through the stuff that they're less enjoyed with. But eventually, you got to get back to making music for the sake of making music, or it's just going to become a chore, and you're not going to enjoy it. Cool. Samba feet. Oh yeah, so this one, it was technically proficient. I had some reading issues, but overall I had fun with it, so we reviewed it. Yay. Let's go back to the very beginning one, and then go into this. You're just trying to hit grade 8 on your drums? It's been draining. Yeah. Find that balance. And it's okay if you need to spend time stepping away from it for a little bit and then coming back to it. It's better to take a break and take some time away from it than to quit entirely because you're so burned out from it. Speaking of, we just took a mental break. So now I'm going to go back to the pattern that I started with, which was wonky. So instead of this, 1, 2, 3, 4 with that soca, ba-da-da, 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 as 16th notes. I'm going to play as triplet, buckets, 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 what-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So it's a 3/4. It's a straight pattern while playing swung on the drums. So that was the quarter note on top of that 3/4 hi-hat feel. We're going to do this with some charts, and hopefully it sounds better than I warmed up with. We'll find out. Stay tuned. Let me get more coffee, because that instantly powers you up. Dun-dun-la. Let's do this. Hit drum. Okay, swung drum charts. And let's do 6 through 10. Sure. I haven't played these today. At 115. Click. Wish me luck. This is going to be rough if it's anything like the warm-up. 1, 2, ready, and... So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This has taken me 2 months of consistent effort to even be able to play the charts. Couldn't even play the ostinato. Okay, better than it was when I first started. Warmed up with it. Yay! Talking about skill acquisition and talent and all that apparently warmed up my brain enough. 1, 2, Or maybe this is gonna go terribly on this chart. We'll find out. Much better. So this chart number 8, is funky. Because the way that I wrote the melody, it like doesn't line up on like 2 and 4 or even on 3. Hit my stick. Hit my stick. Yeah, hit my stick twice on that. Stop it. Get some help. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Ready and. Much better. Feels better. Last chart. I like this chart. But you know I wrote it, so I would hope so. It's groovy. 1, 2, ready, and. That felt way better. Yay! Okay, so 115, it was technically proficient, and I had fun with it. Much better than the beginning. Now, again, this spreadsheet allows me to keep track of, like, how am I doing on average while playing through this, so the BPM, the quality of the playing, how it felt, etc. And it still, on average, needs a lot of work, especially with how I played it when I warmed up. But all these other ones I've already graduated from. They're all technically proficient, according to column A, or they are musical, which is great. Oops, I just deleted that. Didn't mean to do that. If you want to have your own spreadsheet like this, if you go all the way down into the tips and lessons section, inside of the drumming tips playlist, inside of here, there's a video. Phone alarm's going off. Where? How journaling can help drummers. So number 74. Drumming tip number 74. So inside of here, there's a link to be able to make your own spreadsheet like this. So it's this link right here. And when you click on it, it's a Google link. It'll basically be like, boop, do you want to make a template, a copy of this? And it's also in the pinned comment. But you can make your own whatever you want for practicing marimba or snare drum or anything you want. It has column A. It's got all of these stuff, and you can fill it out with anything inside of there. But this video starts off for the first couple of minutes just kind of like talking through it. And if you look at this, what's interesting is a lot of these patterns were meh or needs a lot of work. Like they weren't good. But if you look at it now, so that was 16, 17, 20, and 20.1. So 16, 17, 20, and 20.1. Now on average, those are technically proficient. So when I started these, it was not good. And at least at the time of recording this video, that stream. And then it's gotten better. Same thing with all of these. Like when I first started this, I literally couldn't even play the ostinato pattern because turns out 3/4 straight over swung simultaneously is a little difficult, but it took me over a month just to be able to get into the charts. And now it's getting better. So if you are also like having difficulty with it, you might need to expand your time horizon in terms of how long does it take to improve something with consistent effort. So instead of thinking of like hours, start thinking in terms of weeks or months or maybe even years. As I've mentioned many times before as an example, a drum set professor at Arizona State University, he said he spent an entire year working on one measure until he felt like it sounded good. One measure for an entire year of daily effort to make it sound groovy. So if you're like, well, I've spent a week on it, maybe expand that time horizon, and that'll give you a more realistic expectation of what it can take to like really refine things and get it so that it sounds and feels better when playing through it. But cool. I'm going to get ready for Borderlands 4. I'm going to do that for about an hour and a half or so. And then tomorrow I'll be back on drum kit. So we'll continue this grind. But great questions, good conversations today. Really enjoyed it. But I hope you have a good rest of your day. And if you enjoy these free resources, just share it with somebody else. There's thousands of them on my home tab. You just got to click on the header for any of them, and then it expands and it shows you all the playlists on here. But yeah, the more people use it, the more billions of dollars that I can make because I'm greedy. Ha ha ha. That's why I went into education, right? To make all the monies. But all jokes aside, sharing does help. And if you don't enjoy the content, share it with an enemy. Goodbye.